Bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-da-ba-ba-dum. Hi, friends. I don't sing very long these days because there's so much to do. I don't want to waste time humming and singing and bebopping and scatting. I want to make sure that we get this information out. So, hello, my friends. It's so great to see you all here. My name is Joette Calabrese, and I'm here every Monday night to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to talk to you about homeopathy. I'm going to do a little something a little different tonight, but nonetheless, it's basically homeopathy. And I want you to learn this. I want you to study it as much as you can, and I want you to help each other as best you can as well, so that we can get this method going in the world more deeply than it already is. So, for those of you who know me, welcome, friends. It's great to see you all. And I see my friends from hello from Panama, says Veronique. And hello from Oklahoma, says Angela. And Joanne from Bullard, Texas. And from Ohio and Western Pennsylvania. Hi, Donna. You love my song. Thank you. That's my brother, wrote that, composed it, recorded it. My brother's a very, very talented musician. Jim Calabrese, for those of you who don't know who I'm talking about, James or Jim Calabrese. So, all right, my friends, hello, Irene from Montreal, and Nebraska comes Sharon, and Erica from Dunnville, Canada. It's wonderful to see you all. So tonight we're going to talk about when I go to the market. I go to farmer's market. I go with my daughter-in-laws and my little grandbaby. And we love it. We go Saturday mornings. We've been doing that recently. And when I go to the market, or I travel, I'm on a plane, or I go into a restaurant, or wherever I might go, I do not worry about catching cooties. I just don't think about cooties. Now, there was a time when cooties used to scare me, and I used to worry about it. Not just cooties, but all kinds of things. I was a worrier. I suppose I still worry to a certain degree now, but not about the same things, and certainly not to the same degree. I no longer have panic. I used to have panic. I'm talking 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I used to worry about my children's, when I only had one child, his health. I used to worry terribly. What happens? What would happen if? What if? And for the longest time, it was not so much about catching cooties. It was more about chemicals and man-made conditions. Although cooties scared me when it came to children's diseases, childhood illnesses. So at first, I'm going to tell you a story. Those of you who have been with me, I know many of you here tonight are my students, and many of you are have just been here hanging out with me on Monday nights. So you may have heard this story, and I've written about it as well. Years ago, I went to a homeopath, and I think I was with my son at the time. I had only one child, so he was pretty young. Maybe, I don't know, 4, 3, something like that. And my homeopath had an office that was connected to her home. And she had a little girl. And her daughter was in the house, and she kept the house and the office separate. And I was in with my homeopath, and a very meek little knock came on the door. And my homeopath said yes. And her little girl kind of stumbled in, looking pale and peaked and not well at all. Her eyes looked red. Her eyelids were red rimmed. And she whispered something in her mother's ear. Her mother touched her face and perhaps to check to see if she had a fever. And she said, "1 minute, honey." And she turned to me and said, "Just give me a minute, okay?" So she went to this corner cupboard and she opened it up. And there in the corner cupboard was a beautiful store of homeopathic medicines, all lined up and organized. It was many, many shelves. And she plucked out one of the medicines and opened it up. Her daughter was waiting right there behind her in this little office. And she unscrewed the top, poured some of the contents into the bottle. Her little girl opened her mouth because it was something she had done on a regular basis, like a little bird waiting for a worm. And she tossed the remedy into the little girl's mouth, closed up the cap, put it back. She kissed her daughter, and her daughter walked out. She walked out slowly and fatigued. I said, "Wow, isn't that interesting?" She knew exactly what to do. And about 40 minutes later, the little girl came bounding in. And I mean bounding. She skipped in. She had a gleam in her eye. She no longer looked peaked. She looked not just better, she looked well. And it was astonishing to me. What I had witnessed was the power, number one, of mother's knowledge. Mother's confidence, number 2, in the wake of illness and her homeopathic medicines. And all I could think of was, I want that. I want that. I want to know how to do that. Not just knowing what medicine, but to have the confidence. She never flinched. She never gave it a thought. Her daughter was really sickly looking. And instead of saying, oh, I got to get to the ER. Oh, I got to call the doctor. Oh, I better find somebody who knows what to do. She didn't do any of that. She had quiet, graceful confidence. That's what I want. That's what I kept saying to myself. And so that moment made a huge shift in my thinking. Around that time, not too long after, our family doctor, who I didn't see very often at all, I only went to her for birthing, subsequent births, But we just didn't go. It just didn't go. There was no reason to. We weren't that sick. We had little issues. I had allergies, food intolerances, those kinds of things. But there wasn't anything a doctor could do. So I was just trying to figure it out myself. At any rate, soon after that, my doctor, who was was 89, passed away. And then that homeopath, who I just described to you, moved away. And in those days, we believed, because I was thinking classical homeopathy at the time. She moved away, and we all believed that you should not be meeting with your homeopath on the phone. No. You should only meet your homeopath in person. So between that event and the loss of my beloved Dr. Mary Catalano, and this homeopath, her name was Diana Osborne, by the way, all of that happened all around the same time. And it hit me. Oh my gosh. I better catch up. I better do something about this. This is my purview. This is my job. Nobody else is going to care about it as much as I do. This is not only my job, it's my duty. If I'm taking responsibility for my children, it's my duty. It's also my duty to my parents. And especially, my friends, my duty to my husband, because he deserves to have a wife that's in good stead. So I'm going to read something to you by Dr. William Gutman. And if you happen to be one of my mighty members, and many of you are, you've heard me read this, but I'm going to read it again because I think it's so valuable. It's from a little pamphlet that was published in 1940, and it's called The Little Homeopathic Physician, meaning not that he's the little homeopathic physician, but the pamphlet's a little homeopathic physician. And it's the introduction of his little booklet. And he said, all healing originates in the healing power of nature itself. All discoveries in medical science lead again and again to this ancient truth. Therefore, to bring about a real cure, not cover up symptoms, not get injections, not take pills, homeopathic aside, all treatments must depend upon the support of the healing power of nature. Disease is recognized or felt by symptoms such as fever, inflammation, pain, swelling, changes in the function of organs, the liver, the pancreas, the lungs, the ovaries, the testes. As the scientific experiments of century-old experience have taught us, all these symptoms actually represent healing processes, are signals of the healing power of nature, and without which cure is not possible. Although fever, pains, and inflammation are disagreeable. I'm going to read that again. Although fever, pains, and inflammation are disagreeable, we understand that. Do you understand that? We understand that. It's disagreeable. We don't like feeling sick. Health can only be regained through them. I'm reading it again. Although fever, pains, and inflammation are disagreeable, not worthy of treatment necessarily, not worthy of fear or angst, not worthy of, oh my God, somebody help me, I got to get to an ER. No. Although fever, pains, and inflammation are disagreeable, health can only be regained through them. It is through that process, my friends. It's through the process of suffering that we gain health. Fever is our strongest weapon in the fight of nature against all bacteria. Through its influence, all healing reactions are accelerated. Fever, I'm going to say it again, is our strongest weapon in the fight of nature against all bacteria. Through its influence, all healing reactions are accelerated. The heart beats faster in order to carry the blood containing all healing matters. Now, let me just point this out. Parents often say to me, but my child's heart is beating so hard and so fast. Yes. And he's got a fever. Yes. That's exactly what we want. Containing all healing matters quicker to all the organs. Respiration is speeded up, thus increasing the intake of the all-important oxygen. Inflammation is demonstrated by swelling, redness, and heat as a result of added influx of healing blood, finally producing pus in certain circumstances, which destroys bacteria and poisonous matter and expels them from the body. Without fever, without inflammation, the body would succumb to infection. It's the charge. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what it's supposed to do. It's the Army, the Navy, the Marines. Now, colic has for its purpose to expel a stone, kidney stone, right? Gallstone, or toxic intestinal contents. Colic, vomiting, diarrhea, perspiration. Cough eliminates harmful phlegm. Cough eliminates harmful phlegm, which otherwise would deteriorate when left in the body. That's what causes pneumonia, my friends. In short, everywhere we can observe nature's work to bring about healing by means of, I get it, disagreeable, but nevertheless most necessary functions. There it is. Dr. William Gutman. There it is. 1940. How many years? 86 years ago? 85? 86 years ago? It holds true. But he tells us it's ancient, and he's right. So because of that thinking, because that is the basis of homeopathy. He's a homeopath. He was a medical doctor who was also a homeopath. Because of that. That is what, I want to make sure that I get to my other information here. My other notes, I mean. Because of that, I don't worry. Let's start with just that. That illness is not something to be afraid of. We are supposed, I'm sorry to tell you, my friends, we are supposed to suffer. That's how the body cleanses. We are supposed to suffer in life, even in an existential way. How do we ever expect to move forward in life and beyond? How do we ever learn to atone if we don't suffer? How will we grow if we don't suffer? How will we grow wisdom if we don't suffer? It is in the suffering that we as humans become actualized. It's disagreeable. And I also want to tell you, my friends, all of us have made a lot of mistakes, and I myself very much included. I know that I made a lot of stupid mistakes. Let's talk about health, okay? I won't go into other areas because I'm not going to put out my personal information out online. I took the birth control pill, one of the stupidest things I ever did. I took Tylenol. I took 222s, that had codeine in it. I used to take it on a regular basis for sinus headaches. I had my wisdom teeth extracted, even though there was absolutely nothing wrong with them. I was being proactive. It was recommended to me by, what do you know, a surgeon. Surgeons love to perform surgery. 4 wisdom teeth extracted that for years decades caused problems. 2 of them caused problems forevermore. For 33 years. I had no idea what was wrong. I had infections in 2 of them that lasted from 1979. You do the math. 33 years later, I figured out what was going on. So, my friends, what we do to ourselves is a big part of how we experience life. Life is about choices. And we make a choice every single day. Every time we get up in the morning and we don't move or we don't go outside and look at the sun. And I'm not perfect, my friends. I don't do it every day. I do exercises in the morning, 10 minutes. It's not very much. Every day I skip it's my decision. It's my sloppiness. It's my stubbornness, my weakness. Sir William Osler, MD, who was one of the founders of Johns Hopkins. I'm looking down because I have this actually taped to my desk. Once said, the person who takes medicines, and now he's talking about, of course, synthetic, petroleum-based drugs of commerce. The person who takes medicines must recover twice. Twice. Once from the disease and once from the medicine. The person who takes medicine must recover twice. Once from the disease and once from the medicine. Anything we take, any drug we take, we must recover from. And the reason that we got the drug in the first place also needs to be recovered from. So it's this kind of thinking that keeps me not afraid. So let's just start with that as my firmament, okay? Because this all makes perfect sense to me. And then let's go to knowing homeopathy. Knowing simple methods using homeopathy. Now, when I first learned about this and I saw my homeopath plop in those little pills into her daughter's mouth and watch that daughter come around in about 40 minutes. It's for acutes. Acutes are not nearly as important as you might think if you don't have young children, because young children get sick because they are supposed to get sick. How else are we going to clean it out? How are we going to get rid of it through the skin? The pox, the monkey, the chicken, the small, all of those. It needs to get through, get sick, get in bed, drink bone stock, don't eat. You don't have an appetite? Of course you don't eat if you don't have an appetite. They're supposed to get a sore throat, which is today called strep B, to scare the wits out of the poor mother. They're supposed to get ear infections here and there, conjunctivitis here and there. They're supposed to get sick. They're supposed to get rashes. How do you expect the body to cleanse? And so if we think of it from that point of view, we can still use homeopathy. And I have to tell you, though, as I age, as I grow in my years, I find that I'm less interested in taking homeopathic medicine for this or that. I'm much more interested in making the changes, changing my habits. Now, I know I have to be very careful of my insulin. And I'm not going to go and get my A1C tested. Just not going. Why? Because I already know what I would do if it came back too high. I already know. And so it's up to me to say, look, you're on the verge, Joette, if you're not already there. And so, my friends, I say to myself, well, then what are you waiting for? You know what you're supposed to be eating. You know you're not supposed to be eating bread or potatoes or that ice cream. You know that, Joette. And I generally don't. But I do succumb. And I can tell the difference. I can tell the difference if I have a day of eating the wrong foods, and I generally don't have a whole day. It's usually just a small portion of something, but I can feel it because perhaps my age, I don't know, because it's been accumulating. My poor liver and pancreas have had it. I can tell. When I go up and down the stairs, my knees feel different. Without that, and as long as I stay on my quality diet that I believe is the proper, as Dr. Ken Berry says, the proper human diet, as long as I stay with the proper human diet. I don't have that. I sleep better. And so if something comes up, I can handle it. The allergies that have plagued my life are almost non-existent as long as I stay with that diet, that way of eating. It's not even a diet. It's a way of eating. Yes, potatoes, Tiffany. Yes, because they are starch. Now, not everyone has to be worried about this, but most do. What I saw in Calcutta was an enormous number of patients, very large percentage suffering from diabetes. And it's no different here. It's no different. If we find that we are kind of circling around the kitchen, moseying around cabinets, opening the refrigerator, and if you say to yourself, I think I'll just have a couple of, 2, 3, 4 scrambled eggs, and you say, nah, that's not what I'm looking for. Or I think I'll open up a can of sardines and have a couple of sardines. Nah, that's not it. Or I think I'll get a burger patty out. And no, that's not it. That means that's that addiction. I'm looking for something carby, sweet, or loaded with carbohydrates. Cheese would satisfy, but cheese is loaded with carbohydrates. For Lent, I've given up cheese. Because a big part of this is, I'm sorry to be so Catholic for those of you who are not, is offering it up. It is about giving up for the greater good, for Him. So that's how I think. Doesn't have to be the way you think. I'm respectful of most religions, but I need discipline, and I know that, and so I need to work at it. And it is my daily concern. And when I get up in the morning, what I think in the morning establishes my day. Okay. When should wisdom teeth be removed? C.J. Huber asks. What do you think, friends? Why would you ever remove a tooth? They should never be removed. Unless they are so occluded. The teeth are so bad. They're coming in sideways, and it's causing all kinds of misalignments. Okay. Yes. Licia asks, if there was one book and one course I should take to be as wise as that homeopath you described, and I can't do academy yet, which would you recommend? Wow. Licia, it depends on where you are. Why not start with that little booklet? It's free online. Dr. William Gutman, The Little Homeopath. It's a great way to start. My 21-year-old son was told he has to get 4. They always say they will hurt him in the future. Yeah, well, let's wait till the future and let's find out. It's the same idea with circumcision. Just in case. Licia says, done, already downloaded. You go, Licia. I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. It's just a little pamphlet, but it's a little something. Keep it in your purse. It's that small. Oh, look at what everybody's saying. It's so great to see you all here. It's so great. Let me see what else we've got here. Wisdom teeth should be kept in the mouth. I'll tell you, I'd like my wisdom teeth back and my money back, and I'd like my tonsils back from when I was 3 years old, and I want that money back too. Thank you very much, Alice. Fever can even be induced and used to treat cancer. Absolutely. There's a lot of research being done on that. It's more than research. It's actually being implemented. You are absolutely. E.g., Coley's toxins. Yes, when we suppress a fever, especially in a child, but anybody, suppress a fever, you've got something coming that could be really problematic. Hello from Connecticut, recovering from the blizzard of 26. Says Salida. All right, let's see what else we've got here. Let's see what we've got on this side of my screen. I've given up sugar and wheat for Lent, says Deborah. We'll see how I feel after 40 days. You bet. Margaret says, boy, I can relate to what you're saying. I know what I'm supposed to do, but sometimes I don't do what I'm supposed to do. Absolutely, Margaret. We're in the same boat. That's what I'm saying tonight. That's exactly what I'm saying. Perimenopause is giving me headaches and just feeling crappy. What can I take to help with my symptoms? Alicia, let me just tell you this. Perimenopause is a result of tinkering with the hormonal system. And I'm not saying it's all your fault, but think about that. The person who takes medicine must recover twice, once from the disease and once from the medicine. I've written a lot about perimenopause. Last week was one. You might want to check that. I talk a lot about exactly what you're asking. Just go back to my Monday Night Live from last week. Okay. All right. We all need discipline. Yes. Yes. What a world it would be if we all had better discipline, right? I heard a Catholic priest say he adds something good for Lent. Well, I hope he takes something away too that's good for him, that he wants to, that he loves. That is part of it, is giving up. Water fast on Fridays and one small protein meal all other days of Lent. Let's go, says Melissa. Oh, you're so good. Let's go. Andiamo. And with forza. Andiamo, let's go. Forza, with force. My sister's wisdom teeth were so impacted, says Elizabeth, that her jaw turned green and she was in such pain. She said she wanted to put a gun to her head. Okay, there you go. There's an example. But how often is it that you hear what the story I told you? They were extracted because I was 29 years old, and that's what we should do when we're in our 20s. Thank you, Joette, for talking about the benefits of suffering and the mindset of bringing God into my eating. Marge says, thank you for saying, Marge. It is Gutman, yes, Dr. Gutman. Lycopodium and maybe I said something else. If I said something else, please excuse me. Lycopodium and phosphoric acid both have early gray hair. If one of these medicines fits other symptoms, can I expect the medicine to heal early gray hair in 25-year-old male that has had gray hair since age 18? It's possible, Carrie. I'm not going to tell you that it will do that. It's possible. Or you may not say that it's cured. You might see that it's halted. A lot of times what we see in chronic conditions, and I don't know how chronic gray hair is because I love my gray hair. Just got a cut today. We might see that it halts. In other words, there's some gray now, and it's not going to get it's not going to carry on in the same speed with the same speed. The dentist wants to remove my daughter's wisdom teeth because she says that her mouth is not big enough for the wisdom teeth to come in. Was told that the roots of the wisdom teeth get longer and deeper into the nerves of the jaw, and then it gets more complicated as she gets older. What do you think about this? Well, without really saying, I can't really say, but I'd get a second or a third opinion. And don't tell them it's a second or third opinion. You just go get another opinion. And maybe you want to go to a dentist who has gray hair because they're not in it to finish paying off their mortgage, their own education, their children's tuition. They're in it because now that's what they do. They're in their 60s, 70s, maybe even older than that. And now they'll be a little more honest. They're not afraid to tell you what they really think after all those years. All right, let's see. My daughter says she feels like her mouth is bigger since beginning to take chamomilla for wisdom tooth pain. Leela, excuse me. I think it's Leela. If you're in the academy, it's I'm pronouncing it correctly if I say Leela. Yes, you take the right homeopathic medicines, and you might find that all that suffering that has to do with the teeth being too small or the jaw being too small, some of that changes. And the jaw is too small, my friends, generally speaking, because the nutrition is not correct. We have to get rid of the carbs. We have to eat high animal fat, butter, lard, tallow, bacon fat. Then fill our day up with fish, chicken, secondary, beef, lamb, even pork. Don't tell me pork's not good. Tell all the Spaniards and all the Italians in Spain and Italy and all the French. Tell them that pork is no good, and the Chinese for that matter. I swear this country really overcomplicates things. Best thing I ever did was to give up sugar, bread, and grains. No more pain, says Sharon. You're right. Joints are inflamed by grains. Just know that. because grains cause leaky gut often. And then it can't be digested properly. My son has a molar that is twisted 180 degrees and they want him to get braces. I've been giving him calc phos and another calc, hoping it may turn back. It's possible. Are we looking for it to turn back? Or are we looking for it to simply not be a concern? A lot of times, what remains is the same condition is still there. However, we have just released the person of the suffering. So it's crooked. So can we not live with a crooked tooth for the next 70 years of someone's life? Perhaps, perhaps not. We don't know. Certainly worth a try, right? My brother, age 66, was told he should get an MRI to see if he has fatty liver. He has no symptoms and is healthy and feels fine. Doctor says just in case. Well, fatty liver is very common. I tend to agree with that part of what the doctor's saying. You know how you know you have a fatty liver? Measure your height and then measure your waist at the fattest part of your waist. The chubbiest part. Don't suck in. At the chubbiest part of your waist. Your height and your chubbiest part of your waist. Your waist should be less than half of your height. And if it isn't, it's likely fatty liver. I'm not saying it is. I'm telling you that it's likely. And fatty liver is all about problems with insulin. Kathy in Alaska, my 19-year-old used Calc Floor 6 for a couple of months to straighten her teeth, let a baby tooth get loose enough to pull and cause space between front teeth to close. I think you're saying that that's a good thing. I think. What are your thoughts on taking OHM prepared Banerjee protocol medicine versus mixing the same two medicines using boron? Is it the exact same, or have you ever noticed? I've not noticed a difference, but I do very much trust both of those pharmacies. OHM is an excellent pharmacy, and so is boron. Yes, lots of dentists just do it for the money. Yeah, well, they have bills to pay. You know, as I think I said last week, if you're going to the hairdresser and all you want is a cut, but she's really a colorist and what she wants to do is color your hair, don't be surprised if what she does is try to convince you to have your hair colored. Use chamomilla 200 for wisdom teeth pain when they are erupting. Thank you, Susie B. You're absolutely right. Chamomilla 200C helps with pain as wisdom teeth or any teeth are erupting. Thanks, Susan. About my hair, thanks. You allowed us to have that same calmness and knowledge of homeopathy through your wisdom teaching and materials such as as your homeopath. Thank you, Fernisha. That's very sweet. You always say such nice things. Would love to get the dental into Mindy. I don't know exactly what you mean. Okay, thanks. All right, let's see. Joette, our gateway group is stumped. A friend has not one, but two diagnosed frozen shoulders. Would they combine the two first-line Banerjee protocols, right side cuprum and left side symphytum and hypericum, or would they choose the more severe side and hope it addresses both? That's a great way to start. Yes, start with the more severe side. You're right about that. Or go to a second line which does not differentiate sides, symphytum and hypericum. I would consider the first idea, but to be honest, try that for a while. If it doesn't act, then go to the second line, because you're right, it doesn't differentiate. Let's see. How do you keep your headband to stay on your head? They always flip off of me, says Christine. Only certain ones will stay on my head. This one's velvet, so I think that's why it sticks. I have all my wisdom teeth and I'm 50. You go, Kim from Oregon. My dentist tried to convince me to remove them. I said, no, thank you. And he hasn't asked about it since. He said, because they may be an issue later. Yes, if they're an issue, then you remove them. But what if they're not an issue? How many things are we going to change? Maybe, let's start with circumcision. Let's just start with that. Really? You're going to do that to a newborn boy? Are you kidding me? Really? Because there might be an infection because the mother didn't teach the boy, or the father, depending on the age of the boy, the father didn't teach the boy how to wash himself? It blows my mind. Why don't you just get rid of the tonsils at birth? Why don't you get rid of the ears, because it could cause otitis media at some point? Why don't you shave up your hair because you might get dandruff? Why don't we just, I mean, really, it's so ridiculous, but because it's expected in our society, everyone just, I don't know, we've been propagandized to. So, Perry, it's 8:37 and I'm ready to go to my mighties. Is there a cure for psoriasis and homeopathy? Go to Joette's Learning Center, scroll down to Skin the Ugly Truth, and I talk about it in great detail. Any advice for hydronephrotic kidney due to pelvic obstruction junction, taking kelp flor and Nat Muir, I think she's saying, and Kelly Muir. Well, it's a little bit too heavy for us to talk about tonight. But if you're using almond, you're using kelp flor, Nat Muir, I think, get yourself a repertory and start poking around in there. All right, we're going to go to my mighties. Tell me when you're ready, Perry.
Just smile.
Okay. I'm going to say goodnight now to all of those who are not my mighties, and then mighties can stay on and we can keep chatting.